There are two oddly specific things I've been doing for some time now, which I feel has cured my procrastination. Before these two things, I was a serial quitter. I started multiple side projects, but didn't follow through with any. But over the last couple of years, I've been consistent with YouTube despite getting low views, made my best gains at the gym, and still managed to travel more than ever before. And it boils down to two very specific things. Number one, intentional constraints. For most of my 20s, I thought productivity meant doing as much as possible and crossing everything off my to-do list. I always felt busy, but in reality, I never really made any meaningful progress in anything. But then I came across this concept called the paradox of choice. The idea that the more options we have, the harder it becomes to make a decision. It's a bit like choosing something on Netflix. By the time you decide, you're already done eating. So instead, you just binge watch mind-numbing reels and let the algorithm decide for you. And that's when it hit me. What if my lack of action was down to having too many options? What if instead of trying to do more, I intentionally aimed to do less? So I started off with the gym. Instead of trying to go 6 days a week and doing every variation of a lift, I gave myself intentional constraints. The first being, I can only go 4 times a week. And secondly, I'm only allowed 10 sets per muscle group spread across the week. And for anyone who's curious, here's my weekly routine. Now, is this the most optimal routine? Probably not. But did it drop my procrastination and make me more consistent? Absolutely yes, because I removed the paradox of choice. I downsized my routine to the point where gym started feeling a lot easier, but more importantly, a lot more enjoyable. I knew exactly what I'll be doing even before I got there, and I tracked every lift, focusing on getting a little bit better each time, also known as progressive overload for any gym bros watching. And once I started seeing progress along with the occasional compliment from friends, I applied the same rule for work. Instead of staring at 23 things on my to-do list, I forced myself to pick the most important task of the day. And knowing you're just one task away from having a successful day, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to follow through, even when you feel like procrastinating. But to make sure that I always follow through, I added in the second habit. Number two, intentional rewards. In the 1930s, an American psychologist called B.F. Skinner came up with a theory called operant conditioning. This theory states that behavior is often shaped by its consequence. In simple terms, if an action is followed by something rewarding, you're more likely to do it again. However, if it's followed by something unpleasant, then you're less likely to repeat it. For example, if a dog sits and you give it a treat, it's more likely to sit again, as it expects another treat will follow. Now, I'm not comparing you to a dog, but humans work in a similar way. We avoid things that lead to pain and seek things which lead to pleasure. So what if we use this biological wiring to our advantage? And that's exactly what I did. Once I completed my one thing for the day, the evening would be spent indulging in self-made rewards. These would be routine things like watching an episode on Netflix, meeting a friend, or rewatching my old videos. I started reframing these routine activities as rewards, which I now had to earn. This not only made me feel more motivated to get my work done, but also made the reward way more satisfying. And trust me, the feeling you get watching an episode knowing you've earned it hits on a whole different level. So just by creating intentional constraints and intentional rewards, I've probably made more progress in the last 2 years than the previous 10 years combined. And if you want to try doing the same, I've created a free habit tracker, so you can start tracking your one thing and reward yourself each time it's ticked off. As the popular saying goes, less is more. And when it comes to getting stuff done, it couldn't be more true.